evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
People think that they're on the outs because they're not always in the same room together, Maureen. That's what she would like people to believe. Like she had what, 1 or 2 public appearances without him, and that's what led to the divorce speculation. That's not quite it, my dear. It's what are the things? Oh, your words. It's your words that led us to believe you can't stand him.
Picture this. Barack Obama strutting around as the untouchable, cool kid of politics, effortlessly dropping smooth one-liners and sipping lattes like a Marvel superhero in a tailored suit. But suddenly, out of nowhere, Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard appear like 2 Avengers who missed the memo about respecting legacies. What follows isn't just a takedown. It's a full-scale demolition so ruthless, even Obama's teleprompter would have called in sick. Buckle up. This showdown makes every political roast battle look like kindergarten story time.
The truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you'd
sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
Right. And that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years, and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
Barack Obama has always floated through the political universe with the untouchable glow of a Marvel superhero. The man who walked into Washington like a smooth-talking prophet, turning hope and change into a mixtape everyone was ready to stream. The media adored him so much that if he sneezed, anchors would probably frame it as a profound act of leadership. He wasn't just a president, he was a lifestyle brand. You didn't vote for Obama. You subscribed to him.
Lo and behold, what happened next was we're going to do a new assessment and we're going to see what Russian interference was. Immediately, the media started reporting, it was huge. They interfered in everything. They tried to help Trump. So the answer to the homework was delivered to the media before the homework had been done. And then when the homework was officially delivered in January of 17 to Obama, shock of all shocks, it said what Obama wanted it to say, which was Russia, Russia, Russia. They wanted to help Trump. And off we were on the collusion allegations that would dominate the Trump first term. So now you have spoken to a whistleblower still inside the CIA who worked on that 17 ICA. And this person is telling us what?
Enjoying this video? Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. But remember, every shiny statue eventually meets a hammer. In this case, 2 hammers arrived, Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard. If Obama's carefully curated image was the Mona Lisa of politics, Kelly and Gabbard showed up at the Louvre with spray paint, ladders, and zero patience for polite applause. Suddenly, the golden boy of politics looked a lot less golden, and a lot more like a man who had been surviving on some very expensive PR stunts.
Implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States.
Megyn Kelly was the first to sharpen her knife. She's not exactly known for playing nice, unless by nice you mean smiling while eviscerating someone's credibility on live television. She's the human version of a scalpel, precise, sharp, and guaranteed to make even the most confident politicians sweat through their tailored suits. Kelly has built an entire career on never flinching in front of power. And if that means dragging Obama's media-made halo through the mud, she's more than willing. Just listen to the pod, you'll see.
You just listen to the pod. They got to watch it because, first of all, we're taking this thing apart tomorrow on the Mini Nerve.
Good.
He's got more chemistry with and affection for brother Craig than his own wife, if you look at the way they greet each other. And then my favorite thing is the staging now, because we all know that politics is about optics and stagecraft. Michelle's at this end of the table. Obama's all the way over here at this end, and brother Craig is between them like a mediator, like a marriage counselor.
So
if they're really still in love and together and not getting a divorce, why aren't...
What makes Megyn especially dangerous is that she has receipts. She's watched the media tumble over itself to protect Obama from scrutiny, and she's never been shy about exposing how ridiculous that looked. While most journalists were busy writing love letters disguised as op-eds, Megyn stood there like a teacher calling out everyone's lazy homework. Imagine a classroom where every student is praising the king, and then Megyn drops a 5-page report exposing his tax fiasco. That's her energy. Then comes Tulsi Gabbard. If Megyn is the scalpel, Tulsi is the blunt force hammer. She doesn't care whose feelings get bruised as long as the truth survives. Tulsi can turn a polite dinner into a full-blown interrogation in minutes. She didn't just sit in a cushy chair making policy decisions. She lived through the consequences. When she calls out foreign policy blunders or wars disguised as humanitarian missions, she isn't speculating. She's pointing at the scars and saying, "Yeah, I was there. I saw what your hope and change actually looked like on the ground."
More fuel on the fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas' relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the basketball team, the Clippers, thank you, game without her. And then on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with both daughters, Malia and Sasha, but again, no Michelle, according to TMZ.
And that's where the cracks in Obama's carefully painted image start to show. 4 years, he was treated like the guy who ended wars, healed racial divides, and basically floated above Washington corruption, a political messiah. But scratch beneath the glossy speeches and celebrity aura, and you see a record that looks a lot more like every other president who promised the moon and handed out parking tickets. Take foreign policy. Obama campaigned like he was going to unplug the war machine, tuck it in, and sing it a lullaby. Instead, he basically swapped the batteries and upgraded the software. Drone strikes skyrocketed. Civilian casualties became background noise. Interventions were wrapped in flowery speeches about democracy. It was like the international community saying, "You seem nice. Here's a trophy in advance. Imagine getting an Oscar for a movie you haven't filmed yet, only to spend the next 8 years accidentally burning down parts of a set." On the home front, Obama was hailed as the healer of America's racial wounds. His election was supposed to mark the dawn of a new era, the ultimate proof that the country had moved past centuries of division.
The distraction. What is your response to the former president?
They're doing the exact same thing that people like Senator Warner are doing. He was the head of the Intelligence Committee at the time. They would have to admit and actually address the details of their complicity in this, or their absolute failure in conducting the most basic responsibilities of, again, asking, where is this intelligence coming from? What are the sources? What proof do you have of these of this high confidence assessment? Remember, John Brennan and James Clapper at the time assessed, and James Comey, with high confidence that Russia aspired to help Donald Trump win the election in 2016.
But reality didn't exactly cooperate. Beneath the speeches about unity, tensions kept boiling over. Police shootings, riots, cultural clashes, they didn't vanish. They escalated. It was like slapping a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall and acting shocked when the wall collapsed. Enter Megyn Kelly. She doesn't just point out that the wall fell. She exposes how the media cheered the paint job while ignoring the cracks. Obama got softball questions, flattering magazine covers, and a press corps acting like unpaid interns in his personal fan club. Kelly calls out that double standard with surgical precision. Because let's be honest, if any other president had expanded surveillance programs or launched drone strikes that wiped out entire villages, the coverage would have been apocalyptic. With Obama, it was treated like Tuesday. Then there's Tulsi Gabbard. To her, Obama wasn't the peace president. He was a guy who swapped one war for another while pretending the world was drifting toward harmony. She paints a stark picture of someone who sold hope and change while quietly reinforcing the same broken systems.
Obama's still at it. And in this particular soundbite, she's got thoughts on relationships. Listen here.
Relationships are long, and there are also ebbs and flows, right? So I think sometimes people who date don't realize that, you know, in long-term relationships, you're gonna have deep dips and you're going to have
a bad year.
You're going to have I tell people, and folks think that this is harsh. It's like, you're going to have a bad decade.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been married to my husband for 30 plus years. I mean, the truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you know,
you'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You know,
Right.
and that's really how it works out.
And that's the beauty of this unlikely tag team. Megyn Kelly exposes the media bubble that shielded Obama from scrutiny, while Tulsi Gabbard tears apart the policies hiding behind the speeches. Together, they're a political demolition crew. One peels off the wallpaper, the other swings a sledgehammer at the foundation. Obama's speeches, of course, are legendary. He could read a grocery list and make it sound like scripture. But Megyn and Tulsi remind us, speeches don't stop bombs from dropping or lives from being ruined. By the time they're done, the aura of untouchability is gone. Obama's legacy looks less like a marble statue and more like a cardboard cutout left out in the rain. And the reaction from his diehard fans? Predictable chaos. Social media erupts, treating criticism like someone kicked their favorite puppy. The Obama stans flood Twitter with hashtags, emotional essays, and nostalgic tweets, but all it does is prove the point. His image has become a sacred cow no one is allowed to question.
There was no credible intelligence that actually reported that. So President Obama's very carefully worded response that came from his office, again, deflects away from addressing any of the truth that was revealed.
Right.
Senator Warner refuses to speak the truth about how one of our whistleblowers came forward and approached his office numerous times about what had actually occurred, how he wouldn't go along with this fake intelligence manufactured report, was sidelined because of it. And guess what? Senator Warner's office wouldn't even give the whistleblower an email address to send his evidence of this, the treasonous conspiracy that we have now released to the American people.
But the truth has a way of breaking through, and that's exactly what makes this so devastating. Obama's presidency may still be admired by millions, but the cracks are undeniable once they're exposed. Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard didn't just take shots at a man, they dismantled a myth. And once a myth is exposed, no amount of speeches or nostalgia can piece it back together. Megyn Kelly's strike lands first, aimed squarely at the glowing force field that's protected Obama for years, the media. She doesn't just question double standards, she cracks them open like an egg. Think about it. The man could roll out a policy suspiciously similar to his predecessors, and journalists would trip over themselves explaining why it was somehow different, somehow visionary. If any other president ramped up surveillance programs, it was Big Brother. If Obama did it, it was responsible oversight. The media's love affair with him wasn't journalism, it was fan fiction with better lighting. Kelly skewers that contradiction with surgical precision, reminding the world that the very people whose job was to hold power accountable spent 8 years acting like unpaid hype men.
Speaking of Barack Obama, he decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue, our guys in the bombers. He went a different way. This is what it was.
Curious how you're thinking about this eulogy specifically in the moment and all the tensions that you just brought out.
I didn't even want to talk. I was so mad. Part of the reason I think I ended up having anything to say at that moment was when I heard some of the victims' families forgive the shooter. And I thought, all right, let's...
When scandals popped up, they weren't scandals. They were teachable moments. When blunders happened, they weren't failures. They were complicated decisions. It's like having a group of friends who excuse everything you do. You didn't forget their birthday. You were busy being inspirational. You didn't burn dinner. You redefined cooking. Her point is simple. The press handed Obama a free pass the size of an Amtrak ticket, and he cruised past criticism that would have sunk anyone else. Then Tulsi Gabbard swings in. Where Kelly is a scalpel, Tulsi is blunt force trauma. She's not interested in how the media covered Obama. She's interested in what actually happened because of his decisions. And her critique hits harder because it's not coming from a pundit. It's coming from a soldier who saw the receipts in blood and bone. She also tears into the regime change fiascos. Obama's administration played a not-so-subtle role in foreign upheavals that left countries shattered. Libya, for example, went from intervention for democracy to whoops, now it's a terrorist playground. That wasn't hope and change. It was chaos with a polished speech attached. Tulsi doesn't sugarcoat it. She calls it what it was, reckless and destructive. And coming from her, the critique stings in a way no punditry ever could.
That claims that Russia had helped Donald Trump get elected contradicted every other assessment that had been made previously in the months leading up to the election that said exactly the opposite, that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to try to quote unquote hack the United States election for the presidency of the United States. So the effect of what President Obama and his senior national security team did was subvert the will of the American people, undermining our democratic republic, and enacting what would be essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, who was duly elected by the American people.
And here's where the real beauty of this two-pronged attack comes in. Kelly and Gabbard don't overlap, they complement each other. Kelly exposes the media machinery that kept Obama's image squeaky clean, while Tulsi tears apart the reality hiding behind the speeches. One points out that the emperor's tailor is lying. The other shows you the emperor tripping over his own robes. It's a demolition from two directions, and together it's devastating. The contrast they highlight is almost comical side by side. On one hand, Obama's speeches could make you feel like the future was a sunrise just around the corner. His words were masterful, policy turned into poetry. But words don't bring back the lives lost to poorly thought-out policies. It's one thing to inspire people. It's another to actually deliver on that inspiration.
All these different strands, a case upholding healthcare, a case declaring same-sex marriage part of our constitutional protection, of mourning. I think what pulls it all together is that no one person did any of that.
So he's sitting around on a June Thursday thinking about himself and his glory days. And to your point, Smug, I'm starting to warm up to Michelle Obama's POV. I mean, like, what is he doing?
Kelly drives home the irony by pointing out that while the media swooned over the speeches, the reality often got buried. The surveillance state expanded. Whistleblowers were pursued with zeal. The promise of a more transparent government ended up being as transparent as a brick wall. The same reporters who grilled other leaders for the tiniest misstep seemed perfectly content to look the other way when Obama tiptoed into territory supposedly off limits for champions of freedom. Together, Kelly and Gabbard strip away the glossy veneer, leaving behind a far less flattering picture. Seen through their eyes, Obama's presidency isn't the flawless masterpiece it's often remembered as. It's a mix of genuine achievements, overlooked failures, and contradictions so glaring they'd be funny if they weren't so tragic.
Tulsi Gabbard caught President Obama absolutely cold. What they did to this country, starting in 2016, going up to 2020 of the election, they tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group.
And that's the thing. The comedy of it all is that so many people still cling to the myth, even when the evidence is laid bare. Kelly and Tulsi force you to see the emperor in all his awkwardness. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Obama's carefully crafted brand looks less like a timeless legacy and more like a marketing campaign that didn't survive scrutiny. By the end of their combined takedown, the contrast between Obama's silky words and the gritty reality is undeniable. The speeches might still give you chills, but the record makes you shiver for a completely different reason. It's like discovering your favorite magician wasn't actually sawing the woman in half, he was just sawing the truth in half and hoping no one noticed.